Yeah. Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Thank you. And a good Monday morning to you, Central Georgia. It's a pretty busy day here in the weather department. First and foremost, we have decided to issue a weather impact alert for today in light of this potentially dangerous heat that's in store later this afternoon. So we'll go over all the specifics with that and then talk about what's in store for the rest of the work week into the weekend. We have quite the temperature swing, to say the least, as we go from today on Monday, the high temperature, all the way into Sunday. We could see nearly a 15-degree drop in that high temperature. So some good news is on its way, but first and foremost, the hottest day of the year looks to be on tap for today, not only actual temperature-wise, but also in terms of those heat indices. We do have some better rain chances this week. This past weekend was definitely very dry, not much in the way of rain whatsoever. So it does look like we kind of get back to our normal summertime pattern. And some days are, of course, going to have some better rain chances than others. But then I mentioned it below average this weekend. It's still a little bit up in the air. We have some models that are trending a little bit above average, but it does look like most of the models are coming into better agreement that this weekend will be below average. So what should you know about your weather impact alert? As of right now, it goes for all day Monday, and that's going to continue into the nighttime hours. Obviously, the dangerous heat indices won't be a factor as we go into the nighttime hours, but those temperatures are not going to get too cool as we go into the overnight hours. We'll probably start out somewhere around 75 degrees for your morning lows, which is definitely going to be above average. And even at that, we'll probably have a couple areas that maybe don't even get below the 80-degree mark. That's what we saw in areas like Eatonton and Vidalia this morning. So the main driver of your weather impact alert is the heat indices of 110 plus going to be possible this afternoon. Your actual temperatures are going to hover near 100 degrees, and that might be the first time in quite a while that we've hit that threshold. But the actual temperatures are not what's driving this extreme heat warning that's in place. That's going to be the heat indices of 110 plus over a widespread area. In order to get temperatures to drive that extreme heat warning, they need to be 105 plus in a widespread amount of areas, but we're not necessarily seeing that. If we had temperatures around 105, we definitely would be looking at heat indices probably close to 120. So very thankfully, we're not having to deal with that. But we've been very, very quick to warm up so far. Getting into your current conditions to start out this Monday morning, mostly clear skies all across our quad view of sky cams, plenty of blue in the sky, and anything in the way of cloud cover is mainly those thin high clouds, those cirrus clouds, and they're not doing a very good job of blocking any sunshine whatsoever. So it's kind of just direct sunlight beating down on central Georgia, and we can see temperatures already at the 90-degree mark. Sparta, Milledgeville, Gordon, and down to Vidalia, a 91 popping up in Dublin. Everyone else is in the upper 80s, so this is definitely warmer than we have been as of recent days. Taking a look at your current temperatures across this portion of the country, 89 here in Macon. Dublin actually goes 1 degree above that 90 you see in Jacksonville, the 90 you see in Charlotte. And it looks like down here in the southeast corner of the United States, that is where the warmest temperatures are here at this hour. But right now, Dublin takes the cake for the warmest temperature that we do see in the eastern half of the United States. I do imagine some areas up here in northern South Carolina, maybe getting into upstate South Carolina. There's some darker shades over here, so I wouldn't doubt that they have their fair share of 90s as well. But we're not alone in this today, and you'll see that once we pop up the heat alerts graphic as well. So here's a look at your dew point temperatures. We had some patchy areas of the light green color this morning. We were seeing some dew point temperatures around 69 degrees in areas like McRae. Well, we have seen a steady increase in most of these values, and of course, right here east of the Ocmulgee River, kind of getting into the Oconee River Basin, that's where some of your more humid air is. And then down here on the southern portion of the Flint River in central Georgia, areas like Americus, Unadilla, and Cordele do see a lot of that dark green shade. But whether you're in the upper 70s, the mid 70s, or maybe even the lower 70s, it is definitely a humid environment as you head outside. Taking a look at your humidity levels for the entire state of Georgia as a whole, and it doesn't look like much fluctuation. Almost the entire state of Georgia probably has dew point temperatures at least at the 70-degree mark, and we have some patchy areas where it's even taking a step beyond that, especially up in north and northwestern Georgia. That area right here, the Oconee River Basin we were just talking about, down here amongst the southern components of the Flint River, and southwest Georgia around the Albany area, and then once you get to coastal Georgia as well. So our fair share of patchy dark green areas. So here's a look at your feels like temperatures. This is at 10:30 in the morning. Keep this in mind, folks. So this is before we even get to 11 a.m. Feels like 106 in Gordon, 102 in Milledgeville, 102 in Sandersville, 104 in Dublin. Plenty of triple-digit numbers already popping up on this. And if you don't feel like the 100-degree mark, maybe just a couple degrees below that. 99 in Eatonton, 99 in Monticello, 98 in the pair of Macon and Warner Robins. And at the very coolest, we see a 93 over in Thomaston. I'm not quite sure that maybe our sensors are working down here in McRae, because we did just see a dew point temperature of 70 degrees and their actual temperature maybe hovering somewhere in the upper 80s. So doesn't really correlate with that much of an increase, but it maybe we're just a little bit late to get some readings in terms of the dew point temperatures or a temperature update, but feels like 105 down in Telfair County. Here's a look at the winds and the wind gusts. They have been slightly breezy. A light breeze out of the northwest has been present throughout this morning, but it does look like maybe it's receding back over to the west. Areas in east central Georgia not seeing as much of a breeze present. Even sustained winds about 12 to 13 miles per hour in areas like Warner Robins, Cochran, a gust up to 18 miles per hour over in Taylor County, and I imagine the same just to the north up in Upson County, where you're seeing some faint shades of that yellow color. Today we'll probably occasionally see some of these breezy winds upwards to about 10 to 15 miles per hour, but it's going to be associated with an isolated storm if you do catch one later this evening, where your winds do get above that threshold. So yesterday was hot enough already. 99 degrees was your high temperature that we hit here in Macon, which is 5 degrees above average for this time of year. So already telling you that it was a hot day temperature wise. The feels like numbers were probably very similar to what we have today. And note this record high for yesterday, 1940, we hit 100 degrees. We were 1 degree shy of the record yesterday. Didn't record anything in the way of rain. Your departure of rain just continues to get lower and lower, now hovering just above an inch where we should be this time of year. A couple weeks ago, that number was running a plus 5 inches tally. So yes, we've seen a steady drop as the month of July has been very dry, at least in South Bibb County. Some areas have gotten their fair share of rain, but it just looks like the scattered nature of the rain has really dodged southern Bibb County and Middle Georgia Regional Airport. Your morning lows yesterday didn't vary much from average, 1 degree above average at 73 degrees, nowhere near that record low. We have not been flirting with record territory on those morning low temperatures whatsoever. We've seen values in the low 60s, the mid 60s, maybe even the upper 50s over the last couple of weeks. We have barely dipped below the 70-degree mark. I can't remember the last time I even saw an upper 60 on the temperature map. So today, weather impact alert for scorching hot temperatures and heat indices. We do have the potential for some rain later, still in the form of some showers and storms, but tomorrow looks like a better rain chance than what we have in store for this afternoon. Like I mentioned, some occasionally gusty winds out of the north and the northwest. that could be above 15 miles per hour on occasion. Now we hit 99 yesterday. I went with a 100-degree mark for today. We still are seeing very good agreement across all models that 100 degrees is probably going to be possible, and we could even see maybe a 101, 102. It could be very possible, but 100 degrees is kind of that one temperature that we're talking about very recently in terms of, hey, when do we first hit that 100-degree mark? Well, for a matter of fact, we only hit it a handful of times last year in 2024, but on average, July 2nd is going to be your first 100-degree day, so we're definitely trending behind average. Nowhere near the earliest. May 26th was the earliest that we first hit the 100-degree mark, and on record, the latest time that we had our first 100-degree day in a calendar year was September 18th, so not getting close to that latest mark, but it does look like we're trending just behind average, getting into the end of the month of July right now. So of course, that is kind of getting pretty close to August, but July and August are typically our hottest months here in central Georgia. So let's talk about your heat indices. Oh my goodness, we're already seeing a 103 for 11 a.m. and we just continue to go up until we kind of finally hit that cap right there. 2, 3, and 4 o'clock feels like temperatures of 109. Once again, this graphic just goes for the Macon area. We're going to have areas east of Macon that are muggier that are going to pop up some values higher than this, but we're still feeling like the triple digits all the way until 9 p.m. and still, you might as well count a feels like temperature of 98 degrees as the triple digits. And even as we go close to midnight, we are still feeling like the 90s here in central Georgia. It is going to be a scorcher of a day. But now let's talk about your heat alerts. And like I told you, we're not alone in these heat alerts here in the south and the southeast United States. You saw areas over along the Mississippi River. They're also in the extreme heat warning. But this is something that we have not seen in central Georgia in quite some time. Extreme heat warning, number one, it only encompassed about 3 or 4 counties yesterday. So we've seen the bullseye get a little bit bigger and now does encompass the Macon area, Twiggs County, Bleckley, getting down to Dodge County. So the theme with this is areas along the Ocmulgee River and to the east of the Ocmulgee are under this extreme heat warning. So what that is going to mean, feels like temperatures up to 112 possible in all of these areas. And like we always say when we issue these graphics and we show you these graphics, there's going to be some isolated areas, maybe 1, 2, or 3 that feels like numbers above 112 degrees. I wouldn't even doubt that we see a 115 later on this afternoon. So this is going to get going at the top of the hour at 11 a.m. and it's not going to conclude until 8 p.m. on Tuesday evening. Not this evening, not Monday evening. This is going to go all the way until Tuesday evening because the overnight hours are going to be mighty warm as well. And we still have the potential for seeing some really hot heat indices as we go into tomorrow afternoon. But there is some saving grace and we'll talk a little bit about that. But for areas to the west of the Ocmulgee River, you will see a heat advisory. And that just means that your feels like temperatures aren't forecasted to climb up as high as 112, maybe up to 110, probably going to be somewhere in the 105 to 109 range. But nonetheless, it's still going to be hot. All of central Georgia has some form of a heat alert, whether you're in an extreme heat warning or a heat advisory. You still need to be taking the proper precautions in order to make sure that you're keeping your body cool and you're making sure you stay hydrated. But the main reasoning for our weather impact alert is because we haven't seen this kind of heat in quite a while. Our last 100-degree day, this is your actual temperature, was July 15th of last year. So it's been over a year since we've hit the 100-degree mark here in the Macon area. Of course, some areas farther down to the south have probably hit that 100-degree mark a little bit more frequently, but we use Macon as kind of a base point because obviously that's where we do a lot of our temperature readings, our rainfall readings and such, but we make sure to not exclude everyone else. So it may have been a little bit sooner since you've hit the 100-degree mark, but this is just kind of giving you a general idea. But the last time we've seen an extreme heat warning in central Georgia, number one, the name was different. It was called an excessive heat warning for quite some time. And if you watched the morning show this morning, you probably caught me slipping up on that a couple of times because that's what I've learned my first 2 years as a meteorologist, excessive heat warning, and we forgot about the name change. They made that name change sometime in the winter months, and we put it on the back burner because we weren't worried about anything in the way of heat, say in December and January. But this extreme heat warning now, so it goes for the same thing. It means the same thing. They just changed the word excessive to extreme. The last time we had one of those issued in central Georgia, August 15th of 2023. So it's been nearly 2 years since we've seen an extreme heat warning in central Georgia. Last year, we just saw our fair share of heat advisories, kind of giving you the idea that this isn't something that we do see every day. And obviously, it still just is meaning that it's going to be hot, and we have some potentially dangerous heat in store later this afternoon. But it's just those numbers are going to climb a little bit higher. So your heat alert safety tips. These are going to be the 3 main points that we're going to continue to hammer in all throughout today, all throughout tomorrow, anytime we have any form of a heat alert in central Georgia. Number 1, don't leave your pets or your children in your vehicles. And that just really goes for everyone, not just your pets and your children. Don't leave anyone in a car for an extended period of time or even a short period of time without that air conditioning on. Vehicles can get warm very, very quickly. It can only take a couple of minutes, and a lot of the materials and substances that you have in your vehicle can really absorb the heat very quickly, and your car kind of acts as a greenhouse mechanism. So that's why those cars can get very, very warm very quickly. So make sure that you're not leaving anyone or any of your furry friends within the vehicle. That's going to be the one thing, and that's one of the biggest causes of death that we do see related to heats each and every year. But along with that, a lot of you are probably going to have to venture outside some point today. Drink plenty of water. Drink, hydrate, 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 whether it's water, whether it's electrolytes, just something to make sure that you're staying hydrated. Even if you're not thirsty, make sure that you're taking at least a couple sips of water here and there, because obviously dehydration is a big concern during blistering heat like we have today. And if you do have to spend extended periods of time outside, I know we have a lot of landscaping workers, construction workers, just people that have to be outside day in and day out for their job. Number 1, make sure you're wearing sunscreen in those areas that will be exposed to the sun, because we're going to have an abundance of sunshine throughout today. So apply and reapply that sunscreen. Just because you have it on in the morning hours, after a couple of hours, it's probably going to wear off. Make sure you're reapplying at some point throughout the end of the day, and to kind of carry you over into whenever you're finally making your evening commute home from work. And then protective clothing. If you don't want to wear sunscreen, you're not a big fan of it, that's fine. Wear some long sleeves, wear a bucket hat, wear some long pants, something that at least is shielding you from that direct sunshine and that UV radiation. But along with that, try to limit your time outdoors as well. I know everyone doesn't have that luxury. It's a Monday. People are out on the job sites. People are outside doing work. And probably most people haven't canceled work today just for the blistering hot heat, because we know in central Georgia, we're definitely hot basically for the entire months of July and August. So if you can't limit your time outdoors, try to take frequent breaks in the shade. Try to take frequent breaks inside and with some air conditioning. But of course, if you do have the luxury of being able to limit your time outside, try to be inside as much as you can. I know for a fact myself, the only time I'm going to be outside is when I walk outside to my truck and leave work, and then walk from my truck inside to my house later on this afternoon. So try to stay inside as much as you can. It's just really one day that you don't want to spend an extended period of time outside because of those heat-related illnesses. They can happen very, very frequently, especially when we do have these heat alerts. So combat the symptoms on the left, like I always say, which is going to be the symptoms of heat exhaustion. And hopefully you won't have to deal with any more severe symptoms, which would be a heat stroke. That's going to be worse than what you see generally with your general heat exhaustion. The big difference between the two is going to be no sweating associated with a heat stroke. That's where you're going to start to feel so hot that maybe you even start to get a couple of chills. I've had that happen to myself before, so that's an immediate sign to go ahead and head indoors, find some way to keep your body cool, jump in a body of water, go get some ice, pour it over your head, pour it over your neck. But you will see excessive sweating with your general heat exhaustion. Nonetheless, if you have any of these symptoms throughout today, you need to make sure that you're finding the most immediate way to keep your body cool. And sometimes you can just skip over heat exhaustion, go straight to the symptoms of heat stroke. You definitely need to make sure that you're finding a good way to keep your body cool at all times throughout today and even into the evening, because not to discount from those evening feels like temperatures. Maybe not quite as high as peak afternoon, but they still will be warm. Like I said, we're not going to feel below the triple digits until about 9 p.m. later on tonight. So also, with temperatures near 100 today, concrete and asphalt temperatures are probably going to hover well warmer than these numbers you already see, and warmer than 140 and 155 degrees. Yeah, definitely don't take your pets out for a walk whatsoever this afternoon or into the evening hours. If you absolutely need to take your pets out on a walk, I'm going to recommend past sunset time, once you get into 9, 10, 11 p.m. if you can't afford to do that right before going to bed. But just try to keep your pets inside today, not outside whatsoever. And if you do have to take them on a walk, try to find some of those softer surfaces, whether that's grass, whether that's going to be some kind of padded area, maybe mulchy areas, somewhere in the woods where you have plenty of shade in the trees. Those are going to be the better places in order to keep your pet's paws off that super hot and those hard surface temperatures associated with concrete and asphalt. And make sure you're not leaving your pets outside all day either. This is going to be the day that if you have some outdoor dogs, some outdoor cats, you need to bring them inside. They're definitely going to appreciate it a lot more. And trust me, if these temperatures are too hot for you, which already concrete and asphalt temperatures 140, 155, go ahead and add a couple degrees to both of those values, as we will be near 100 today. It is definitely going to be way too hot for your pets. So make sure that you're not discounting how your furry friends feel. I know you're worried about taking care of yourself, how you're going to go about your day, but you need to make sure that you're making sure that your dogs and your cats, any type of animals that you do have, are being safe in this heat as well. So here's a look at your satellite and radar picture. Mostly sunny skies, not much in the way of cloud cover. That's been a big reason for the warm up that has been so quick throughout the last couple of hours. Now let's take future view into this afternoon. This is 3 p.m. There's a couple scattered showers that could pop up in central Georgia, but whatever pops up in the way of rain, it does look like it's going to be later in the afternoon into the evening hours. Now this is a new run of future view from what we've had so far all morning long, and it does look like slightly better rain chances, including the potential for maybe a scattered or a stray storm or two. But it doesn't look like much in the way of rain. Not necessarily very widespread. It's very hit or miss nature, and we'll have some of that rain try to linger into the nighttime hours. But overall, you should not bank on the possibility of having some rain today to cool some of those numbers down. It's not looking to be very impressive whatsoever, but if you do catch a shower or a storm, hopefully it provides for a little bit of relief, but you're still more than likely going to go all afternoon long where you are going to be dealing with those blistering hot heat indices, because we don't look at the rain to pop up until later in the afternoon into the evening hours. And that's when temperatures and heat indices are steadily starting to drop down as we get closer and closer to sunset. So not necessarily providing too much relief on that end. Now Tuesday is a different story. I did mention that the extreme heat warning and the heat advisory, they're going to go all the way until 8 p.m. tomorrow night. Well, take a look at this. This image is at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Scattered showers, a couple of storms already in the picture. So number one, the rain tomorrow looks like it's popping up earlier, and it's actually going to be fairly widespread. It is still of the scattered nature predominantly, but it does look widely scattered as opposed to just your general hit or miss rain that you see on a typical summertime day. And we'll continue that all the way into the evening hours, and then hopefully by then your temperatures will be cooling off anyway. But I do believe that tomorrow we actually have some relief in store. Whatever pops up in the way of rain is going to make the blistering hot heat indices, the temperatures, it's going to lead to a pretty substantial drop. And obviously the heavier rain that you get, that's where you'll see a more substantial drop in some of those numbers. But it does look fairly widespread. It does look like whatever heat indices try to crawl above the triple digits or maybe into 105, 110s categories, that's going to be fairly short-lived because you should have some rain popping up early in the picture. So I'm not quite sure that we'll see that heat advisory and the extreme heat warning go all the way until 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. The National Weather Service has realized this, and they've gone ahead and issued it, but they said a big fail point, and that could lead to a conclusion of those heat alerts a little bit earlier is going to be the early presence of rain to allow for some of those temperatures to cool down. Now let's go into Wednesday afternoon, and Wednesday is looking very similar to what Monday afternoon has so far. Rain chances still not very impressive, probably slightly lower than what we're expecting for your Tuesday afternoon, but still a couple scattered showers, maybe a storm or two are still going to be possible. But by the time we get into Wednesday, your temperatures should be a little bit lower and the heat should be slightly more bearable. But we are starting our back to school season tomorrow, so we're going to have some fun graphics to show you each and every morning. Number one, we'll go into your bus stop forecast for Peach County specifically. Tomorrow is going to be all about Peach County. They are our first school district to go back to school July 29th. Yeah, that feels super early. But being a Central Georgia kid, I have been accustomed to going back to school at the end of July. It does feel a bit criminal, but at the same time, you get an early start to the school year. Maybe you get to get out of school a little bit earlier than maybe some of your relatives that live farther up to the north. So going to be a pleasant but a humid start tomorrow at the bus stop as the sun does begin to rise. Temperatures somewhere in the mid-70s in areas like Fort Valley and Byron. As you go to recess, I would imagine that recess is probably going to be moved indoors, at least for the first day tomorrow. Temperatures near 90, but we do have some rain popping up into the picture. So obviously if you do have some rain, still not the most conducive atmosphere to be outside whatsoever. And by the time you're going home, some scattered storms should be in the forecast. But hopefully that rain-cooled air will definitely play a role in at least making it feel more bearable outside. How about a temperature of 84 degrees if you do catch some rain? If you don't catch any rain, well, this is what's in store for you in Peach County. A high of 97 tomorrow. So heat indices are going to hover near 100 degrees. I'm hoping they'll be fairly short-lived. You'll catch a stray shower, maybe even a storm that will be fairly short-lived, and then it will knock those temperatures down. But going to be hot for the first half of the school day, and then some storms are going to probably be in the picture as you are going home. So now taking a look at your afternoon high temperatures, 100 for that high today, down to 97 tomorrow. We could even see this temperature tick down a little bit more given the presence of more widespread rain. But right now, models are still kind of calling for the upper 90s, maybe even close to 100 according to some models, but I definitely don't really buy that. If we do get up to the 100s, that's probably going to be the select few areas that dodge the rain for a good portion of the early afternoon. But then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, that first day of August, right there around average, 94, 95, 94 again on Friday. And we have even better news after that as we get into Saturday and Sunday. It's going to come with a bit of a trade-off, but finally some cooler temperatures look to be settling in. So now let's talk about the humidity day by day, and it's just going to hover in the very muggy range for the foreseeable future until we get into Saturday and Sunday. Look at that. Saturday, dew point temperatures hovering between the humid and the very humid categories, but then Sunday, look at that drop off. We could see dew point temperatures maybe in the comfortable range, and that would be very abnormal for the summertime season. So it does look like some slightly drier air is in store for the forecast as we go at least into the very end of the weekend. But we'll talk about the long-range models very quickly. Thursday, rain chances not looking very impressive whatsoever, but a lot greater to the north of us where a frontal boundary will be starting to organize and will be starting to push farther down to the south. Now let's go into Friday afternoon, and it finally looks like the widespread rain is going to be pushing down into the state of Georgia, along with South Carolina, over to the west and Alabama. Pretty good agreement right now that that front will be just to the north of us, and rain chances will be fairly organized and widespread ahead of it as we go into the beginning of your weekend. Now we go into Saturday afternoon, widespread rain chances all over the state of Georgia. You're even seeing shades of yellows, maybe some reds, which obviously is going to indicate your thunderstorm potential. But at the same time, thunderstorms are going to do a really good job of cooling those temperatures down, or maybe not even letting temperatures climb anywhere near what they are forecasted for the beginning of the work week. Now we go into Sunday. Now this is something I am going to keep my eye on as we go closer. Right now, we don't have any potential areas of tropical development, but as a frontal boundary does push through, it can stall and it can maybe act as an axis of lift, and it can get some tropical systems start to churn. But right now, over just to the east of us in the western Atlantic, this is something I'll be keeping my eye out on just off the coast of South Carolina and North Carolina as we go into the end of the weekend and the beginning of next week. But as of right now, I know this says 2 a.m., but I checked the 8 a.m. update. There's still no tropical activity expected within the next 7 days. If we have anything pop up, I think it might be this area off the coast of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. But who's to say that that just tries to fizzle out very quickly as well. The main thing you need to know is the blistering hot heat for today has a weather impact alert in place for all day Monday. We may even extend this into the first half of Tuesday as well, but then some rain should get going, should cool those temperatures down. But heat indices of 110 plus forecasted later this afternoon. What you need to do is follow all those tips and tricks I just gave you. Try to be in the AC, try to be in the shade, hydrate very frequently, even when you're not very thirsty whatsoever, and apply sunscreen, wear protective clothing, and make sure that you're protecting your furry friends, your children, any of those elderly groups, some of those people that are more susceptible to some of those heat-related illnesses. So that's the steady downward trend you will see with those temperatures. Rain chances fairly slim for Wednesday and Thursday. I think over the next 3 to 4 days, your best chance at seeing some rain is going to be Tuesday. I wouldn't doubt that we throw a 60% up on there by the time we get in tomorrow. But then as we kick off the month of August, a rainy stretch and a below average stretch. High temperature of 89 on Saturday, 85 on Sunday. That's nearly 10 degrees below average for this time of year. So like I said, we could see quite the temperature swing and quite the 180 with your forecast as we go from Monday all the way into the end of the weekend. So taking a look at your 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, this is what's in store. We have a pretty good chance of seeing below normal temperatures, and areas to the north and northeast of us have an even greater probability of seeing those below normal temperatures. So it could be a relatively cool stretch that we have to ring in the month of August than we're used to seeing, as temperatures are normally scorching hot by the beginning of August. So back to school, I know it says 7:30, but we do start back to school tomorrow, which will be 7:29. And then looking ahead, Labor Day will be on the first day of September. The peak of hurricane season is shortly approaching, so we'll probably get more tropical activity here shortly. And I really wanted to show this graphic because I am tired of the heat already. Your first day of fall is within sight. That will be towards the end of September. That's coming up around September 22nd. So a little less than 2 months away until we transition into a new season, and some cooler temperatures will be ahead. So make sure you're taking care of yourself in the blistering hot weather today. Like I said, it's not something that we see every day, even today more so than those general heat advisories. Take care of yourself. Take care of all your loved ones, your furry friends, and of course make sure that you are applying sunscreen. That's probably one of the biggest pieces of advice that I could give you, but if I have to leave you with one thing, it's going to be hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. We'll be back here at 10:30 tomorrow for another look at your extended forecast.